Welcome, all my fellow Washington brethren and sistren. I am your man and resident Washington football team fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Washington Football Report Live. So, last day of training camp was today. No pads, just a bit of a walkthrough, a lot of scrimmage or scout team work, going through what the Ravens do to prepare the team for the upcoming game on Saturday. Ron talked about this earlier in the week, wanted to prepare as if this were a true, regular season game week, give those young guys a little bit of the feel of what to expect when these games start to matter. So that's what today's practice essentially was. As I mentioned, this is the last training camp practice. There will be no more practices with 80 players or 90 players, or that number will be dwindled down to the final 53 after Saturday's game. They have to trim the roster down to 53 by Tuesday, and so this is the last practice that they'll have with the roster as it is right now. The big news of the day was tight end Temmarick Hemingway released. And Ron talked about it, and Ron kind of talked about it and made it feel like it was sort of a matter of fact type of move. Like, hey, look, this guy knows the system. We know that if we have to bring him back at any time, he knows it. He can come right in, and we got no issues. He doesn't necessarily need the reps like some of these other guys do. But Ron specifically said, look, we needed the offensive line depth for this final preseason game with center Jon Toth. So that's why we brought him back and got rid of Temmarick. And he just said, look, he wasn't going to make the football team anyway. So he kind of just was almost dismissive about it. Not to say that, he didn't like Temmarick Hemingway. He just was like, look, he wasn't going to make the team. We talked about it. He wasn't impressive against the Patriots. He didn't play in the second preseason game. So they want to take a look at some of these other tight ends. And I told you guys yesterday that I thought it was really a two-man race. I said, I think it's really between Ricky Seals-Jones and Sammis Reyes. And everything that I've gathered, all the intel that I've gathered and listened to people talk who are in the know, all the tea leaves point to Sammis Reyes. And to me, this move right here to get rid of Temmarick Hemingway, I think clears the path for Sammis Reyes. If everything he wants is right in front of him, he's just got to go and essentially grab it. Now, nothing's etched in stone, but they view him potentially as the best blocking tight end on the team. That offers them value right away. But the prospects of this guy continuing to grow and give them something a month or 2 or 3 down the road is also very enticing to this team. So he does just enough that he can quell their doubts about, can he help us now? But the potential of this guy continuing to grow, get reps in practice, things of that nature, is enticing enough for them to say he can also help us down the road as well. And I don't think they want to take the chance of losing this guy either. So I can really see them keeping. And this is the thing I think a lot of us have said. I know a lot of you have said this, and I totally agree with you guys. And I've said that none of the other tight ends have stood out enough to make us feel like we got to put Sammis Reyes on the practice squad. I think it's been a situation where the top 2 guys have been the top 2 guys, and then the next wave battling for tight end 3, no one separated themselves, so why not just go with Sammis Reyes? He's shown you enough promise as a blocker to want to continue to work with him. Nobody else has shown you anything, so I think he's ultimately going to win that spot. I think another spot that we can go ahead and declare over, and I think we've already done this. I think I've done this already, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to do it again. Left guard is sewn up. They're rolling with Ereck Flowers. He's going to be the starting left guard. Wes Schweitzer will be your first guard off the bench. So I think that is done already as well. And that's surprising because I thought that Wes Schweitzer, he was going to have a chance to really compete. And really, after the first preseason game, they made up their mind that Ereck Flowers was the guy. And it looks like he's going to be on the starting offensive line. I think the offensive line is intact now. honestly, if we're keeping it a buck with one another, I think the entire offense is intact at this point. There really aren't many offensive starting spots available. We know the starters on the offensive side of the football. You could probably play around with a few starters on the defensive side. We kind of know what's going on over there as well, but you're not quite sure. You don't really know if they're going to tinker with a couple of pieces in the secondary or not. But on the offensive side, the offensive line goes as follows: Charles Leno Jr. at left tackle, Eric Flowers at left guard, Chase Roullier at center. You got Brandon Sheriff at right guard, and you're going to have the rookie Sam Cosmi at right tackle. So that's pretty much etched in stone. We know the starting running back is Antonio Gibson. We know the starting quarterback is going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick. We know the first two tight ends are going to be Logan Thomas and John Bates. That's your starting offensive setup there. And, they're not going to come out in two tight end sets very often. So more likely than not, if they come out in 12 personnel, it'll be, it'll be John Bates and Logan Thomas accompanying Antonio Gibson in the backfield. But if they come out in 11 personnel, or they come out in 21 personnel, which I think a lot of times they'll come out in 11 personnel. They love the 11 personnel setup, one back, one tight end. You'll have three receivers on the field, and that's what you're going to see a lot of. And I think you'll see Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, and I think De'Ami Brown, or Adam Humphries will be in that mix when you go to 11 personnel, and you'll see Cam Sims get in there as well. They'll mix it up, but generally speaking, we know what the offensive setup looks like for this football team going into the regular season. And now it's a formality. Now it's just about going out and executing for however many possessions or snaps they're out there in this third preseason game. But still some positional battles. We've talked about this. Third tight end still up for grabs. I think Sammy Reyes has a great opportunity to snag that. The fourth defensive end position is one that still looms large, and we don't really know what's going to happen there. I think that's the one that's probably the biggest battle. That, and then what are they going to do at punt returner? That's the thing that still has me puzzled. I'm befuddled by the whole punt return situation, because I still don't think they even know what the hell they're going to do back there and how they're going to go about receiver. And obviously AGG is not a lock, but if you keep him, you can't keep 7 receivers. I just don't understand how that is even in the discussion. So if you're keeping 6 and AGG is the final receiver, well, he's not returning punts, obviously. So then who is? I don't know. Then, listening to Ron today was really interesting, because Ron talked about having a guy on the final year of their contract versus having a rookie and having 4 more years of that guy. And I'm thinking to myself, are you trying to tell me something about Adam Humphries and Dax Milne? I mean, we could look at that situation in a multitude of ways. You could be talking about anybody when you talk like that, because there are plenty of guys that, could be on their last, year of their deal, and they've got a rookie here where they've got his rights for 4 years. You could be talking about J.D. McKissick, or you could be talking about Peyton Barber and, Jarrett Patterson, for all we know. But I don't think he was talking about anybody in particular. He was just using that as an example. But he could be talking about, Dax Milne. Because at this point, somebody has to return punts, right? Like, Adam Humphries, I've said this already, he's done it in the past. I don't know if that's their ace in their back pocket. And I've said maybe that's the ace in the back pocket. Like, once camp is over, none of the guys at punt returner have made the football team, because I don't think Isaiah Wright's making his team. I don't think Dax Milne is making his team, even though he's making a strong push. At this point, I don't think DeAndre Carter's making this football team. He could, but I don't think he's making this football team either. So, and those are the guys that have been getting punt return reps. So if none of them make the football team, you've got to know something, especially if Danny Johnson is not making the team now. He was the break in case of an emergency punt returner. Well, he's not even on the squad anymore. There's no more, Stroman. So at this point, no Greg Stroman, no Danny Johnson to bail you out as punt returners. Who the hell's going to do it? It's got to be like Adam Humphries or someone like that. And they'll just start working him, because he's natural. He's done it before. They'll start working him back there after they make the cuts. That's my guess. And we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, we don't know what the hell's going to do. I found this interesting, though. So the Temmarick Hemingway thing was important. If we go with the Ron Rivera rhetoric, one of his favorite lines is what's important and what's interesting and what's important. To me, important today was Temmarick Hemingway getting cut. Interesting, however, and I want to talk more about interesting than I do important right now, was Matthew Stafford and what he wanted to do. So there was an article, cover story article for the ESPN magazine, or I don't even know if they have the ESPN magazine anymore, but they had a cover story. So like maybe it's for the website, whatever. And it was Matthew Stafford. And I think it was written by Seth Wickersham, I think. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, it was a great story about Stafford's journey, through his career and the decision that he mulled over for so long, which is trying to get out of Detroit. Was it the right decision to make? And then ultimately landing with the Rams, and how it's been a perfect marriage between he and Sean McVay. But in that story, and in all of that, all of those moving parts, was a little excerpt from that story and it was pretty lengthy, but it was, like I said, it was a good read. It was Stafford essentially going to the Lions in good faith and telling them, hey, here's my short list of teams. And he didn't have a no trade clause. So technically speaking, they could have sold him off to the highest bidder. They could have traded Matthew Stafford to the team that gave them the best deal. And reportedly, Carolina and Washington had some really enticing packages. Specifically noted in the article, Carolina had a really good package. But they opted to go with the Rams. Why? Because Stafford had a short list of teams he would like to have been dealt to. And he said, I would like to go to these 3 teams in this order. He listed the following teams: the Rams, the 49ers, and the Colts. And that was the order in which he listed them in. And it got me to thinking, we weren't on the list. We weren't even close. We weren't mentioned. He probably did not want to come to Washington. I don't blame him. And so and I think I've talked about this earlier in the offseason, maybe 2 months ago or so. And it might have been a throwaway line. And we might have talked about it for like 5 or 10 minutes and then we moved on. But I need to reiterate this as the season draws near, because this is really important. That article and that line from Matthew Stafford is a reminder, because a lot of you out there have taken Ron's plan and you've morphed it into something, you've fast-tracked it a little bit further out than where it is right now. We're still in the infant stages of Ron's plan. We're only in the start of year 2 of Ron's plan, so we have a ways to go. However, this is an important season because we can't afford to take a step back. And what I mean by that is we may not make the postseason. And to the onlooker on the outside looking in, that's a step back because you made it to the postseason last year. But we all know we were 7-9 last year. We played in the worst division in all of football. So the 7-9 and winning the division, we got a playoff berth because it was not optional for our division to not have a team get to the postseason. This year, however, if we finish 9-8 and we miss the postseason, that's still a step in the right direction. It's still a better win percentage than last year. You improved your win total by 2 games. You're moving in the right direction, even if that's a tough finish to the season after starting out hot, which is probably unlikely with the schedule that we've been assigned. But that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is we can't afford to take a step back. We can't afford to go 6-11 this year. Even 7-10 feels like a slap in the face, and if at best a lateral move, but that probably is even a step back because that's double-digit losses. We can't afford double-digit losses this year. We have to be going in the right direction, and the reason I say that is because this has to become an enticing place for players to want to be. It's one thing when you've got all the off the field distractions and all of the negativity that this organization has brought upon itself for years, that has made it a toxic environment and players of real caliber to not want to come here. That was one thing. And the losing doesn't help. Because if you don't think you're going to win, I don't want to come there. I remember a couple of years ago, Tyrann Mathieu was a free agent. I wanted him desperately. He wanted nothing to do with us. We weren't even on his radar, okay? He was coming from the Texans, and I'm thinking, they're not that, the Texans aren't all that great, but hell, they'd been to the playoffs like 3-4 years in a row. So I was thinking, hey, why not come here? And he was thinking, no. I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. You're not even close. And he went to Kansas City, and he did win that Super Bowl. And I want to get to a point where guys like that are going into the prime of their career, that are really good football players, consider Washington, that want to come here because they see what we're building and they want to be a part of it. This year is a huge step in that direction. If you take a step back, you can't recruit an Aaron Rodgers to come here via trade. He doesn't want to come to Washington if you're going in the wrong direction. And I guarantee you, if Aaron Rodgers were told this offseason, okay, we're going to trade you, give us a short list of teams you want to go to, I guarantee you, even though we would have been fawning over him and we would have been willing to give the Packers whatever they wanted, essentially, we would not have been on that list. We need to change that narrative. A 9-8 season continues to do that. Because if a player looks at what we did the first year of Ron, because remember, Ron got here, we were 3-13. So they see the first year of Ron, you go from 3-13 to 7-9. They see the second year of Ron at 9-8. They say, okay, you put me on this team at quarterback, and now they're an 11-12 win team. That's where we want to be trending. That's the direction we want to be going in. You take a step back this year, they're still looking at us from afar like, nah, I don't think they're ready yet. I don't think that's where I need to be. Because remember, I've said this before, and I'm not looking to build this roster with a bunch of free agents, okay? We can't afford to do that. We talked a lot last night about wanting to keep this defensive line intact, and we got guys that we have to pay in-house, Terry McLaurin, Cole Holcomb, the list goes on and on and on. And that's not even talking about the defensive line. That's just talking about other guys that we deem to be good football players that we would like to keep here in Washington. If you're going to do that, you can't be going out and spending inordinate amounts of money on free agents. And someone, I think it was my guy DCJ that, suggested, what about trading for Miles Jack? You can't be going out and trading for other people's stuff and paying them to come here if you're looking to retain your stuff. So I'm not saying we need to be out here looking to recruit a whole bunch of free agents. But just like we did this offseason, you do have to supplement your roster with free agents. You want to draft really well so that you can keep the cost down. You want to be able to keep your guys in-house, but you also want to be able to supplement your roster with good football players. Guys that want to come here because they think they'll have a chance to win. You don't want us to be one of those teams that free agents skip over when they start talking to their agent about potential destinations. Or if they're talking trade. How many times have our fan base heard about a guy wanting out of a situation? We get excited, and and I get inundated with a bunch of messages from fans talking about, hey, should we go after this guy? He wants out. They don't want us, though, and I keep repeating that. Jamal Adams didn't want us, okay? Matthew Stafford didn't want us. We can keep going down the list. Russell Wilson, when his camp put out, hey, we're not asking for a trade, but if you're thinking about making a trade, here are my list of destinations I'd like to be traded to. We weren't on that list. We were his hometown team. We weren't even on the list. That's got to change. Deshaun Watson was available. Still is, actually. He made a list of teams. We're pretty close to home for him. He's from South Carolina. Okay? Grew up in Georgia. We're not even on his short list of teams that he would like to be traded to. He'd much rather go to Carolina, and that's closer to home, to play for the Panthers. That's a rock throw from where Clemson is. But you would think he would see what we're building, but that's not the perception outside of this building, outside of this fan base. That's not the perception. Terry McLaurin wasn't even on the top 100 NFL list. That's not by coincidence. We're not respected. We have to continue what we started building last year. If you want the recognition, if you want players to want us, it's not a one-sided street. It's got to be a two-way street. We can't want them. They've got to want us too. Because a lot of you want to fast-track this thing. You'd love to get an Aaron Rodgers, or you'd love to get a Deshaun Watson, or you'd love to get a veteran quarterback that can come in here and help us win. Yeah, it'd be great to get a young guy and get your own stuff. But I've talked about maximizing the window that we're currently in. The way to do that is to get a quarterback that has the chops and pedigree that can put us over the top like Tom Brady did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you want a quarterback to want to come here, if you want some of these guys that we would like to have that want to come here, we got to continue building on what we started. The foundation was laid last season. And I thought that Stafford having his list and us not even being anywhere near it was a quick reminder, just in case, because sometimes we get caught in our little bubble. Ron's plan, and we talk about the growth of this organization, and we love this roster, and this, that, and the third, and we get all excited, but we forget we're in our own little bubble here. So we see our team in a different light than people on the outside do. We got to make sure that this season, I've already said, with Ryan Fitzpatrick, there's a ceiling that you put on this season. You know, there's a ceiling. There's a cap. But I think it's right in that range of 8 and 9, 9 and 8, which is respectable, which is still trending in the right direction. I'd like to finish over 500 this year if at all possible. But at the end of the day, to me, what's important is that we continue to build on what we did last season. We don't get our asses kicked when we get on national television. When we play Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, when we play the Kansas City Chiefs, when we play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, when we go to Buffalo and play Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, we make these competitive football games. Hell, I'd love to win one or two of them. But even if we don't, they got to know. That's a hell of a football team over there. They're going in the right direction. They may not be ready yet. They may be a quarterback away. And Aaron Rodgers may say, they're a me away from hoisting a Lombardi. I'd like to go and help them out. And I'm not saying that's what it's going to be at the end of this season. But you want to put yourself in that position just in case something comes available. You want guys to want to be here. So, anyway, I digress. I just wanted to throw that out there. Reading that article made me think about the fact that we're still not the chosen one. We're still not on people's short list of teams that they want to go to. There's still a stigma about Washington. We're still scrubbing that thing clean. We haven't gotten all the graffiti off yet. Still a lot more work to be done. I think of Equalizer 2. You know, there was a lot of graffiti on the wall. And so Mr. McCall paid the kid some money to come over there and to clean it off. And Mr. McCall was going to do it himself. And the kid was like, I'll do that for you for $400. He said, that's a little steep. Tell you what, you know, you make a little deal with me and we'll see what we can work out. And you got to get that graffiti off, but you got to prime it first. Then you got to paint over it. We got to get all the graffiti off, man. It's a process. We ain't going to get it off just like that. But you can't take steps backwards. You know, like the young fella wanted to go kick it with the homies in the hood, and he wanted to go and get revenge for his brother, and he stopped painting the wall. We can't have that happen this year. We can't stop painting the wall and getting rid of the graffiti. Because then Aaron Rodgers or some other quarterback like that or a guy that we may be targeting may not want to choose us. We got to keep painting the wall. We got to keep priming it, and we got to get all of that graffiti off and paint it and have it looking brand new. Just a little food for thought, man. Y'all do the dishes. Anyway, I digress. So, last piece of information, last piece of business before we get out of here. I wasn't looking to get up here and be, up here for a very long time. I was just looking to give you a last day of camp report and talk about Temmarick Hemingway and then talk about what I found interesting. Not important, just interesting. And I'm not saying we need Aaron Rodgers or we need some veteran, but the point that I'm trying to make, sometimes these points go over some of y'all heads because y'all focus too much on the example that I'm using and not what I'm actually talking about. I'm not saying we need Aaron Rodgers. What I'm saying is we need to put ourselves in a position that when we want a guy, they want us too. Not necessarily just Aaron Rodgers, not necessarily just the quarterback position. You don't think we could have used a Tyrann Mathieu? I would have taken him instead of Landon Collins in a heartbeat. Those two got their deals in that same offseason. It was Landon Collins, it was Tyrann Mathieu, and it was Earl Thomas. They all got big, lucrative safety contracts in the same offseason. I wanted Tyrann Mathieu. He chose the Chiefs. He made the right decision. And we got the guy that we got, Landon Collins. And I'm pleased with what we've gotten. But I would have much rather had Tyrann Mathieu. Much better football player. Total, complete package. He didn't want us. And we were thrilled when we got Landon Collins because nobody wants us. Nobody chooses us. That's how it was before. Curtis Samuel chose us. Why? He didn't choose us because, I've always wanted to play for. Why? He chose us because of Ron Rivera and Scott Turner. William Jackson III was like, I'll go anywhere but Cincinnati. Somebody come and get me. We got to make it so that players want to be a part of what we're building. And that was the point. So, anyway. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. I know it's late. And like I said, I wanted to get this out. And I didn't want to do it locally. I wanted to just get it live, walk away, and be done when it was over. So, last bit of business. Scott Turner stepped up to the mic. And I told you guys yesterday, I said, well, we got Jack yesterday, so I think we'll get Scott today. And we did. So that was a pleasant surprise. He talked for about a good 16 minutes or so. And, he sounds like a second-year offensive coordinator, sort of like how we feel about Chase Young and there's a breakout season coming. I feel like it's a breakout year coming for Scott Turner, too. He sounds like he's ready and poised with all these weapons and with a quarterback that he knows can go out and push the football down the field and execute. Feel like he's ready to take that next step as an offensive coordinator. So he sounds like he's really excited about the opportunity that is in front of him with the talent that they have assembled. I can tell you a couple of the things that I took from him in particular that he said. He said 25 offensive players when asked about the roster. That could have been something subconsciously that he just said. Didn't mean to really say 25. He could have been just throwing out because that's the standard number around the league. 25, 25, 3. I've told you guys that already. 25 offensive, 25 defensive, 3 specialists. That's the standard number around the league. So it's not like he's giving away some kind of intricate plan or some kind of elaborate scheme that we're trying to conjure up over here. That's what everybody does. But it could have easily been 26, 24, 3. But maybe Ron has told them it's going to be 25, 25, 3. We're going to split this thing down the middle. And so maybe he was, indirectly giving us a little bit of insight as to how they're going to split up the roster. Remember, I was talking 26, 24, 3. But I remember I backtracked off of that, and I ended up chopping off one of the offensive linemen to make it 25, 25, 3 because I just don't see how we'll be able to maneuver around the extra, spot going to the offensive side, especially if you're going to keep 6 corners and 5 safeties. There's just no way to make that math work if you keep an extra offensive player. So I'm thinking it's going to be 25, 25, 3. Scott Turner said 25, which, set off bells and alarms in my head. And again, he could have just been throwing that out there because that's the standard around the league. But I think he was saying that because that's what they're intending on doing, 25-25-3. So he talked about players that have impressed him. He said the thing about a lot of the young players that they've drafted, Diami, Sam Cosmi, John Bates, even Dax Milne, he mentioned. He said all of these guys, and Jared Patterson, he mentioned him as well. He said all of these guys that we drafted, in the case of Jared Patterson, we signed, have been as advertised. You never really know what you're getting. You see these guys on tape. You like what you see. That's why you draft them or you sign them. But until you actually get them in your building, see how they work and see how they actually fit, you don't really know what you're getting. You think you know, but you don't have any idea. So he said it was really refreshing to get their hands on these guys and to see that, yes, in fact, what we saw on tape does match up with what we're actually getting here. So he's been really impressed with a lot of these young guys, and he did mention Dax Milne as well. So, again, very, very intriguing stuff, something to keep an eye on, but I wouldn't read too much into it. I've been really, and just for the J.D. McKissick might get cut crowd out there, I know it's a very small population that I'm talking to right now, but I just want to throw this in. It's a one-liner. We'll get out of here. He said, yeah, we got a lot of guys that we really love. Antonio Gibson is going to be, a very, a difference-making back for us, and we got a lot of stuff that we can do with our backs, including J.D. McKissick. So I just wanted to put that to rest, put that to bed, So anyway, I think I got a real good bead on what they're going to do offensively in terms of the roster. The only thing I'm not 100% sure is that sixth wide receiver. I'm just baffled because what are you going to do with punt returner? I know I keep talking about it. I sound like a broken record, but at this point I'm like, what are we really going to do with punt returner? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I digress. I got a couple of super chats and then we'll get out of here. I don't want to, like I said, I wasn't looking to stay up here too long. Carlton Pagano Jackson, my guy CPJ, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. CPJ writes, the fact that Reyes hasn't played football in his life to still be here at this point is remarkable. That young man will do anything to stay with us. I think he wants this bad, and he talked about, repping his country and, being, what he's gone through to get to this point, and he wants this bad, and we know he wants it bad. I think he's going to make this football team. I really do. And Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Metaphor writes, hey, Lou, 1 down, 1 to go for Sammy's roster spot. It's just Ricky Seals-Jones essentially in the way. They're going to play a ton of snaps. After that first wave of guys come out of the game, I think you'll see, a lot of John Bates early on after, Logan Thomas comes out. But then I think he will even fade to black, John Bates. And it'll just be Sammis Reyes and Ricky Seals-Jones, carrying them home. And I think they want to see Sammis Reyes really, carry his own weight down the stretch of that Ravens game. I think he's going to play a ton of snaps. If there are 65 snaps offensively for Washington in this game, Sammis Reyes is going to probably play 45 of them minimum. So he better be ready, and he better show why they are looking to keep him on this roster. And I think he will. I really do think he will put his best foot forward. So with that said, that's pretty much it, man. We will be back on Saturday night after the game. Remember, that's a 6 o'clock kickoff on Saturday evening. So we should be done with that game 9 o'clock-ish, and we'll be live after that game for Washington football overtime. If you're in the Mob Squad, stand up. You're in the building. We'll be with the Mob chopping it up during the game here on YouTube. So you guys we'll be talking about the game all throughout the game, and we'll be talking about it together for the most part. So you know what it is already, but as I mentioned before, this is it, man. This is it. The last day of camp. This is it. Last day of training camp. So after this 80-man roster will be trimmed down to 53. And I will also have my 53-man roster the very next day after that last preseason game. Because I think at that point we'll be able to make some pretty fair assessments as to what we saw and who made the cut. So I will put out my 53-man roster that very next day on Sunday, and we'll just let it breathe. And then we'll see what the carnage is on Tuesday. And, you know, we'll start to get reports probably on Monday. It's similar to like free agency. The deadline, you know, the official start of the league year hasn't come yet, but you're getting updates similar to the schedule. Schedule's not supposed to be released till 8 o'clock that night, but you're getting little tidbits throughout the course of the day. We'll have that probably Monday into Tuesday, and all day Tuesday as guys will be getting cut, and we'll be getting that news trickling down. And then once all of the cuts have been made and the final 53 has been announced, then we'll come on live and we'll talk about it and see what we got right, what we got wrong, any surprises, and we'll go forward from there. So that's kind of a look into the immediate future of what we will be doing as fans and what you can expect from me here on the Louie T Network. So with that said, do me a huge favor before you guys exit stage left. Hit that like button. If you haven't already done so, first and foremost, subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. But also hit that like button as that helps this channel grow immensely. So do me a huge solid. Hit that like button. If you haven't already subscribed, well, do that first, okay? But in any event, thank you guys for joining me on this late night live stream. Again, I wasn't looking to stay on here very long, so I really do appreciate you guys coming and chopping it up with me. I got a super chat here from Metaphor. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Metaphor, who writes, how would that live member access work Saturday? Peace. It'll be a live stream. It'll be just like this. It'll be similar to this. I will make a live stream, and it will just be member access only. So only the Mob Squad will be in the comment section. And if you got your notifications on, you should get it. I'll make sure, though, to do a good enough job of putting it on my YouTube community wall and making a post for all of the Mob Squad members so that you guys get the post that I'm going live, just to remind you, because I know some of you guys don't get all of the notifications and things of that nature. But just know, it's just like any other, Mob Squad, chat for a game, a live stream. Just show up to the channel and it'll be live. Like clockwork. We got a game, you know what it is. 15 minutes before the game starts, the stream will be there. The stream will be there well in advance, so you'll know. So it's just like one of these live streams. Just show up and you'll be able to have access because you're a member. So it's going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right. In any event, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys on Saturday. For those of you who are devout followers of the Louie T Network, I'll see you tomorrow more likely than not. I got a crazy day tomorrow. Hopefully everything goes as planned, and I will be able to catch up with you for the Louie T Network podcast. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Go enjoy the rest of your night. If you're on the East Coast, go get some sleep. If you're on the West Coast, enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll see you guys either tomorrow or on Saturday. Till then, guys, God bless. Good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.